She's April.
You're first. You have to say it.
I did say it.
And she's Molly.
And we are
the Book Besties. I feel like I do owe you an apology for this book.
He's down with it. He's jiggy.
But I guess the universe has a way of knocking supposed tos right on their asses.
Father, I don't understand. I see in cerulean.
Professor Doctor whatever the fuck. And I probably should have started that with trigger warning. What in the world? That was a mess.
I told you we didn't have guests. I wasn't behaving.
Gosh, I'm so tired. I'm sorry I'm late.
Oh, I am too. These first 2 weeks of school is killing me.
Yeah. So I thought things would slow down at work a little bit because when kids go back to school and summer is over, you know, it's normally like slow down. No.
You've been very busy.
Yes.
There's a lot of things happening at the thing.
Yeah, there's like a lot of work stuff that I can't talk about because it's like, you know, work stuff. But like
work stuff, boring.
It's just been busy the past week and a half and I'm tired. Right. And so we're filming after work one day.
On a Wednesday, which is weird for us.
Yeah, and I'm late, which I'm never late. So
I know. This week.
It's just been rough. So James got into Ninja Gym.
Nice.
We've been on a wait list here.
A while. What, 2 years?
No, definitely not that long. He went on the list just in June. So it's just been a few months. But like
it feels like longer because anything post-COVID feels longer.
Yeah, it does. So he's starting that next week. So I'll have an update, you know, in a few weeks for pod.
Liv picked up her band shit.
Oh, is she in band? Like, what kind of, like, wait, she's in middle school. So what is she doing for band?
Percussion.
Oh, that's so cute. She'll be the cutest little percussionist.
A snare drum and xylophone.
Wait a minute. They, like, gave her them? Like,
you
she takes them home?
So here's how this works here. First and foremost, they told us bells. I thought, like, handbells, like, dung, dung.
No,
dung.
that's handbells. That's not the same thing.
But when somebody says bells, I assume bells, like bell, not a xylophone.
No. Like in band, you have like the big xylophone, and then you have the little xylophone, but they're all bells. It's all bells.
Semantics. Anyways, this kit has the stand for both, right? Like so, you can switch up the snare for the xylophone, bells, whatever the fuck you want to call it. It weighs as much as this kid.
Okay, but
it's as long as her, like from her shoulders down.
So this is interesting to me because, like, where I went to school, the percussionist didn't have like an instrument at home.
Like we didn't. Either, but there's so many kids. Like,
that's why those motherfuckers just always carried drumsticks around and beat on everything. And let me just tell you, when you're a teacher,
super annoying.
I'm just like, wow.
Super annoying.
Fucking stop.
Which, I mean, that's why we kind of picked percussion, because it was an easy one. She gets carried drumsticks. She's this big. Like, we need a smaller instrument.
Yeah, but I would beg to differ that percussion is easy. It's not.
She didn't get a smaller instrument. She ended up getting a freaking snare drum and a
She could have played the flute. That would have been a smaller instrument.
Yeah, but I assumed they would already have the equipment.
I don't know what to tell you.
I don't either.
I don't know how to help you with this problem, friend.
I'm going to open house tomorrow. I will talk to the band director then.
Yeah, we have an open house next week, and I was like, didn't we just have an open house? But apparently that was orientation or back to school. I don't know what the fuck it was. I'm like, they've been in school for 2 weeks. Next week will be 3 weeks. What the fuck can you tell me about my kid at that point?
2.5 weeks.
Like, what can you tell me about my kid at that point?
I don't know. It's like all new for us. So
Sam's in first grade. So what are you gonna say? Like,
he's a first grader, yay!
Right. Like he's
not your first kid, so you know what you expect for first grade.
Like the I can hope to hear that he like plays well with others. Like that's it. Although
and he's quiet during class.
Funny story. He told me today that his teacher didn't believe he was doing his independent reading, so he didn't get a snack because his name got put on the bad list. And I was like, what? I don't understand. And then he goes, well, somebody put me on the list, but I was doing my reading. And I was like, okay,
Did she mix him up with another kid?
No idea. And then he's like, but I got a snack at the end of the day. And I was like, Sam, what the fuck? Like, I don't.
The story makes no sense, bro.
But he never makes sense. And he still has this, like, little speech impediment thing.
The kid lisp, yeah.
But I probably should, like, he's probably too old to have this, but it's so fucking cute that, like, I don't want to have him.
It's adorable.
That's exactly how he says it too. Last year, I may have already told this story on pod, but last year he was sounding out words and he had rainbow. So he goes, what, rainbow. It starts with a W. And I was like, oh, buddy,
no,
it doesn't. That's so cute though. But no,
it ends with a rainbow, a W. It ends with a W. But I mean, thinking it starts with a W is kind of dyslexic.
No, it's the sound because he says, what, rainbow. Wah. And I'm like, bud, bro, get your life together. It's a R. But anyway, and like James is in 4th grade this year, but listen, I have had a conversation with all of his teachers. Like almost every day I'm emailing his teachers because if you're just joining this, we talk about this a lot on here. My oldest son is autistic. So he's autistic and gifted.
But he's also brilliant.
Yeah, so he's gifted. So he has an abundance of teachers, like more teachers than any child could ever use at his age. And so I'm constantly, emailing and doing the things. And Virginia last year, in Virginia last year, they started this like standardized test at the beginning of the year that's like basically like assessing where you are. And last year they started it as a way to see like how the pandemic affected the kids, but they've decided to go ahead and keep it. So like now he has a standardized test at the beginning of the year and it's this week. So
the girls did it this week. It's already.
So I had to like make sure he was getting his accommodations because like all of my moms out there who have, or dads, I don't want to say we only have women listening. Yeah. All of my parents that have a special needs child, you know, we are motherfucking lions.
Well, it's exhausting not to like be like, okay, so the dean of students, Livy has Jen, okay, and the dean of students didn't want to do the 405. She asked me to email them with like a snippet about what's going on with Liv, whatever. She would share it with the teachers. Cool. You know what?
No, you need the 504.
So one of the teachers, second day, walked up to Livia and goes, "Hey, I heard you have an anxiety issue. You doing okay?"
What the fuck? Absolutely not.
I'm glad it's Livia because Liv handles these things well and like is very mature about it and was like, "Yeah, cool, whatever," and walks away. But came home to tell me,
"Fuck you, teacher."
But out of her 5 teachers, 3 of them did that.
No, that's not okay.
Because they don't know how to handle it.
That's not what you do.
Anyway, talking about anxiety, let's get over this book.
Okay. All right. So this week we were talking about this book here, The Astonishing Color of After. It is by Emily X.R. Pan. Yeah. And this is Pan's first novel. And she is one of those highly educated MFA, YA authors who writes like she has an MFA. And I had such high hopes for this book because that cover, if you're watching on YouTube, oh my gosh, it's gorgeous. Beautiful. The title, The Astonishing Color of After, that is a gorgeous title. And then there is a quote plugging this book from John Green. So I thought, there's no way this book can go wrong. Yeah. I bought this book
with high hopes for a living.
Like, I bought this book at the beginning of the year.
I know.
And have waited to put it on pod till this season. And here we are.
Here we are.
And if you can't tell by the way we're talking, this was not it for us. Yeah. So
it'll win so many awards. This book will win so many awards.
No, it didn't. And
you don't think so?
I mean, look, it's a New York Times bestseller, a national indie bestseller.
What year did it publish?
It was a Junior Library Guild selection, which doesn't really mean much, but it published looking now. 2018.
It reads like a Snooty Award-winning book.
Well,
a book like a teacher would force me to read.
Look. I feel like I should be insulted as someone that forced people to read books for a living, but I don't. So, all right. And that also makes me think of that quote from Parks and Rec. Shouldn't you be at the library forcing people to borrow books? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So let's do a synopsis if that's okay.
Okay.
And
at least we know this episode's recording.
Yeah. Listen, it's still not as bad as Lost Apothecary, Molly.
It's still not as bad as Lost Apothecary.
If we ever read something that is worse than Lost Apothecary, I think that's the time that I'm going to be like, no, I'm done.
We're done. We're hanging it up.
No more pod for me.
Hanging it up. She's done.
All right.
Molly and special guests. No more Book Besties.
Right. Book Besties break up. I read the physical book of this, so we will talk about the audiobook.
Can we do a Why We Broke Up YouTube video? Like those clickbaity videos like they do on it.
We've consciously decided to uncouple.
Why we're uncoupling. April and
Molly,
I have chosen to remain friends. However,
Molly, I'm pretty sure that if I ever did try to break up with you, you wouldn't let me. So
I'd let you out of the podcast, but out of my life is a 0 out of 10.
Okay, well that's fair. All right. Let's get a synopsis.
Fine.
Lee Chen Sanders is an aspiring artist finishing her sophomore year of high school. She is finally kissing her best friend Axel, who she has secretly harbored feelings for years, when she gets the news that her mother has died by suicide. Her mother, a long-suffering manic depressive, lost her battle with the chemical imbalance in her brain, leaving a large blood stain on her bedroom floor. Lee and her father are left in the aftermath to wallow in their own grief. One evening, Lee sees her mother alive again, but now her mother is a large red crane. Her mother, the bird, brings Lee a box of items and gives her instructions to go to Taiwan to see her grandparents for the first time. While in Taiwan, Lee learns a great deal more about her family than she ever knew, including that she had an aunt who died while Lee's mother was in college. A family friend named Fang helps Lee on her journey to learn more about her mother and chase the giant red bird her mother has become. There are several side stories in this book that drive home the story of grief that ultimately leads to redemption for a family broken by mental illness. And I probably should have started that with trigger warning because this book is about suicide, which I actually
huge, full of triggers.
I actually didn't know that. It doesn't tell you that. You know her mom died, but you don't know it's from suicide.
Yeah, you don't even know it's suicide related until the very
I was very surprised. I was very surprised.
It was very startling.
And it was definitely a lost battle. Like her mom was sick for a very long time.
Her poor mother.
Oh, you know what? I think I forgot to ask this question. So I'm just going to make myself a note so I can come back to it.
Okay.
But I'm going to make myself a note real quick.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So are you good with us starting the questions?
Yeah.
All right. So I picked this book because of the beautiful colored cover design and the title. Even after reading the back of the book, I was not really sure what to expect. So I want to get this out of the way. Did you like this book?
No. But I didn't hate it either.
Yeah.
This book I'm indifferent.
Yeah.
The story is great. The purpose of this story is beautiful. I think the ending's thrown away. It feels like a gimme. There's some twists. There's good twists, I think. But I don't know. Her writing style, the way she uses words gets under my skin.
Well,
color to speak all the time is like,
oh my gosh,
that was hard.
It needed to be pulled back a little bit. Like, it was trying too hard. And I hate that expression because it's like, that's what people in English classes say. Like, you were an English major too, so you know it was trying too hard. We say that all the time. But I did read her notes in here about how she wrote this. She started this while she was working on her MFA, Masters of Fine Arts, for those of you that don't know that. And it reads that way. It reads like it was a senior thesis project for somebody who's getting their MFA. And like, it was pretentious with unnecessarily.
Yes, it's so pretentious.
You're writing about a sophomore in high school who lost her mother. Like, let her be human. Let her be a teenager. Let her say words that teenagers say.
Yeah.
And
the language didn't fit the setting, for sure.
100%. And this is coming from someone like me who, John Green is my favorite author, and he writes YA, and I love the way that he writes YA.
Yes.
But this isn't it. Like, he has a way of connecting with the teens, but still...
He's down with it. He's jiggy.
But he can connect with the teens, but he can still write this higher level language. And also this week that we're filming, or that this episode premieres, is Banned Books Week. So I'm going to link below. John Green just did a TikTok, I believe it's also on Instagram, talking about his book being banned, Looking for Alaska, which we read last year. And sorry to deviate from this, but I'm going to post an article below because his book, Looking for Alaska, is now being challenged in his hometown of Orlando, Florida.
I sent you the video.
I know, in the school district where he
grew up
attended school.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Anyway, it's kind of fucking ridiculous, yo.
It's insane. That book is not.
We're super proud of John, but we're banning his books.
It's stupid. Anyway, so for me, like, I felt like this was like unnecessarily long and like overcomplicated. But you know what? Really,
when is the story going to be over?
Yeah. I mean, that's how I felt too, Molly. I was just like, oh my gosh, this is just so long.
And breaks.
Yeah, me too. And I never do that.
No.
And you know what really bothered me? And I don't want to totally get into the end all the way right here, but all of the work that you do to get through that grief process of her mom is completely diluted by the fact that when she goes home, it's just all about her boyfriend.
Yeah.
That was such a throwaway of an ending. It was such a throwaway of an ending. All right. Next question. All right. This book uses a lot of references to color. Lee and Axel often ask each other to describe their feelings in color. What did you think about this?
I thought the girl had synesthesia.
Synesthesia?
Synesthesia.
Yeah.
Like that would make sense. She's seeing colors. She used colors to describe her life. It would make sense if this was something she was living with and trying to like function with. But they never push on that.
No, they don't. Right.
And it makes me just feel like they're just, you know, those two art kids at school that talked in Old English, who thought they were smarter than everybody else and bitched about being the outsiders. That's them.
Yeah.
They're the artsy kids that talk different because they're smarter than everybody else, or they think they're smarter than everybody else.
Yeah.
Because they think it's being mature.
I thought it... Yeah.
I liked it. There were certain times where I was like, you know what? That worked. This feeling is cerulean. She is feeling that variation of blue. I get that. But then there was times about how, like, she felt yellow and it made her happy and it just wasn't needed all the time.
I thought it was like an interesting plot device because I've never seen that done before.
I haven't either.
But I didn't even know half of the colors they were talking about. They were shades that, like, you only know if you fucking looked up shades of color.
Right.
Like, it was ridiculous.
Right.
Like, I was literally Googling the color shades so I could see what the fuck she was talking about.
About halfway through the book, I gave up. I just gave up.
It was exhaustive.
It was exhausting.
But...
You have to also be an art major on top of having your bachelor's in English to read this book.
Right. But I did think, I've never seen that before, so I did think that
it was clever.
Interesting, but
it was unique. I will give her that. It is something we've never seen before in a book. That is correct. I hope never to see it again.
Unless this character does have synesthesia, because that would be interesting.
But make the story about the synesthesia then.
Yeah, now I have that song stuck in my head. So
okay, which one?
There's a song called Synesthesia by Andrew McMahon, who's my favorite artist.
Oh,
and anyway,
I didn't know that. Sorry.
Yeah. So kind of a follow-up question to that. What do you think about the fact that she constantly thinks in colors, but only does her art in black and white?
It's a metaphor. Her world is vibrant. Her work doesn't need to be. I get it. It's this versus that kind of situation.
Yeah.
She, like, it's
I feel like
go ahead.
I feel like it's an example that English teachers would use. Like,
yes.
Because at the end, what happens, she's in the art show and her final piece is in full color.
She's come full circle. Her world is now completely colored in.
Nonsense.
And it's like her art didn't get colored till her dad supported her. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, she needed the support of her father to be fully, like...
Yeah. Right. Bullshit flag. She's waving her bullshit flag, everybody. Yeah, and to me, that is also something you would find in a senior thesis project for somebody working on their MFA. Like, it just... Yeah. All right, so the relationship between Lee and her father, since we're talking about that, is definitely not great at this point in her life. Mm-hmm. Her dad is trying to convince her to choose a path other than art. Lee fights back like a sullen teenager. Is this a cliche?
Yeah. Yeah, like...
Three bells from Molly.
you're cool with your wife being a pianist. It's great. Mm-hmm. She sing and stay home, make all the beautiful music. But you're my child, get your shit together. You're going to be an adult and get an adult job.
But to defend him for a second, like, not the fact that he was kind of a dick to her about how she was, like, not how she was wanting to do art, but there is that scene in which he's talking to his wife, and she's seeing it in those weird, whatever dreams she's having, where she's like higher than motherfucker. She sees him say to her, "Are you happy pursuing your art?" And I think that the reason he didn't want her to pursue the art is because he saw that his wife is a manic depressive person, and like nothing has helped, even though she did what her parents didn't want her to do. She pursued art. But that
child's not her mother. She's not depressed like her mother. Right. She's not going through extreme depression like her mom.
But Dory wasn't depressed when she married Lee's dad.
But her sister died, and she had a baby, and she's not talking to her parents.
And honestly, we don't actually know that that's true, that she wasn't depressed beforehand, because we don't know. She could have had signs of depression.
Well, I mean, her parents did say she was a troubled child. Maybe she was always having issues.
Right. And also, there are a lot of mental health issues that arise in your mid-20s, which is when she would have gotten married and first started having those problems. So,
and pregnancy definitely could have kicked that off with the hormones.
100%. But I agree, it's a cliche. Like, okay, it's been done. Like,
let's move on.
I'm not a child anymore.
Father, I don't even understand. I see in cerulean. I'm a dick.
Oh my gosh, that was amazing. Oh, why was she British? I don't know.
I've been rewatching How I Met Your Mother.
Uh-huh.
And an episode just had the captain. So, like, that's my posh voice, right?
Right.
So it makes me think of the captain.
Well, I'm listening to a book we're reading next month right now, which is British. And so that accent has been stuck in my head. And with the
not
queen
my terrible
dying,
one. Not my terrible one.
No, a real one. And with the
A
queen
real.
dying, it's just been like,
It's been a lot.
British a lot. All right, so when Lee gets to Taiwan, she meets her estranged grandparents for the first time. We discover the box the bird brought to Lee was actually a box of items her grandparents had burned in a ceremony to give Lee's mother, whose name is Dory, peace in the afterlife. We also meet family friend Fang. Is that how her name is pronounced? Fang?
No.
I don't know.
I'm trying to think. I'm trying to remember. Keep going.
Who helps Lee find the places important to Dory. What did you think about learning about these Chinese traditions? Did you find any of this like super interesting? Did it strengthen the story?
I liked this. And I like this because we're learning. This is a great way to bring other cultures into other people's lives without like stopping the book, explaining it, and moving it in. We literally wove into it slowly. It was a part of the story. It flowed naturally. It wasn't this, okay, we're going to do a Chinese tea ceremony. What they're going to do is, right, they did it slowly and explained it, and it was very beautiful the way they explained it.
I agree. I think she did a really good job talking about the Chinese traditions, the Taiwan traditions. And if you read the acknowledgments in the back of the book, she talks about how that was originally what the story was about, was like these Chinese traditions.
Yeah.
And then she had a family member that she lost to suicide while she was in the midst of writing this. And so the book kind of took a different direction to include that. But I thought it was really interesting. And like, honestly, the one that I was most interested by was the whole ghost bride thing. So like if a woman died unmarried, she gets married to someone who's human while she's a spirit, so that she can have like a better afterlife,
rest in the afterlife or something like that. It's like it's not unfinished business. Yeah.
And the festival that they talk about, the Ghost Festival, is actually in August. Was in August of this year. So I have a link that I'm going to link below more about the Ghost Festival. And then I also found this really interesting article because I was like, is this real? Like, is this Ghost Bride thing real? So like I Googled it, and BBC had an article, which I'll link below, that this is still a tradition and has been an issue that has been a human trafficking issue. Because they've been saying they're going to get these girls married off, and instead they're like
selling them
and trafficking people. Yeah,
that sucks, man.
Yeah, so I'll link that below because it explains more about it. But I was just like, wow. But I thought that the traditions in this were really interesting,
and it wasn't boring, and it wasn't hard to understand or follow.
No, and to me, it was like kind of the most interesting part of the book because like I don't know these things.
No.
And the only other book that I've read, no, it's not the only book that I've read that has Asian characters as a whole, but like that talks about Asian traditions is Crazy Rich Asians, which is a completely different, different element.
Well, that's different cultures, right? Because
and there's such and I think that one, I need to look it up, but I'm pretty sure that one is a Korean.
Taiwanese.
I'm pretty sure it's
Crazy
Korean.
Rich Asians was in. No, I'm pretty sure it was Taiwanese or Hong Kong. No, not Hong Kong.
I want to make sure we get this right.
Right, I don't want to be.
It's in Singapore. It's in Singapore.
Sorry, I was going to say Hong Kong. That's wrong.
Well, it was in Singapore, but the economic difference between the characters in this book and the characters in Crazy Rich Asians, they're a totally different culture level.
Different. So different.
Yeah. All right. So, what the fuck was up with the incense? Do you think she was like losing her mind? Is she having visions? Like, what is going on there?
I think she was sick the whole time. I think these were all fever dreams. Oh. I think she was just high on she wasn't high. She was just ill and unwell. She probably was having fucking fever dreams.
Well, we do know, like, at the end, like, before they leave, Taiwan that she wakes up and she had a fever for 3 days.
Yeah, I think
I didn't think it was fever the whole time, but now that you've said that, I think you might be right. I don't know. I just thought she was like that it was another one of the like traditions that she was lighting this incense and she was having these visions.
Well, they were from the box. The incense were in the box.
I thought she found them in a drawer in her bedroom in Taiwan.
There are so many elements of this story I forgot because so much happens.
Well, okay, so
not
then
proud of that.
No, it's okay. I feel like that's fair. So then this next question is pretty much about that. So is this a story of grief, traditions, magic, or family? Like, what is this a story about?
This is about her grief. That's what this story is about. Is her processing her mother's death. There's nothing more. Yes, the traditions are important, but it was important to her processing her mother's death. Is it about her growing? Yes, but it's her growing while her mother's dying. You know what I mean? Is it about mental illness? Yes, but in the aspects of her life and her, right? This is about Lee and Lee's journey, and that's it.
But see, that's what bothers me about the ending of the book, because I agree with you that it is about her grief. It's about her discovering parts of herself that she didn't know. And that her mom didn't let her know. And then it's basically like, it ends up being all about that boy. Like, oh, well, now I get to be with Axel, so it's all good.
Yay,
like,
me, boy.
That's not, oh, and I also get to do the art show. Like, that's not.
And her friends and everybody can just magically make it to Berlin.
Well, I don't know how the fuck Axel is affording that, but her best friend, other best friend, was already in Paris, so.
You know, because Berlin to Paris is such a short trip. Money.
It actually is.
Object when it is. Right, but for a high school student to just be like, it's fine, we're just going to hop on the train and go from Paris to Berlin for the weekend. As an American teenager.
I 100% think they would do that because her grandparents are French, and so they probably raised her with like that sort of.
Right, like, but that is not the norm for American high school teenagers.
Look, I didn't write the book, Molly.
No.
I don't know what you want me to say.
Absolutely not. You apologize for this book and wasting yours and my time.
I feel like I do owe you an apology for this book. Like, I get on you when you pick books that I don't like all the time, and this one's like, wow, this was like...
It's not even that I don't like it. It's just, was it worth my time?
It wasn't. It wasn't worth my time either.
It's not even that it's a bad book. It's not poorly written. It's smart. It's clever. It has poignant points. It has moving points. It's just, why am I reading it?
I feel like we need a scorecard that's like how many bad books Molly has picked versus how many bad books April has picked.
So you want a tracker, not a scorecard. We're not like going in like heavy detail here. We're just who's sucking the worst. That's all you want.
Yep.
Who's picked the shittier books so far?
I want evidence that I pick better books than you. I'm a librarian. I demand data. I demand research that proves this.
And I'm a writer. I'm going to tell a different story.
Are you going to spin that shit?
That's my job.
It's true.
That's my job. So what's the next question?
Oh, fuck. I don't know. Is Dory really a bird?
No. I think this kid is like, I think she's hallucinating. I think it's lack of sleep and her mind playing tricks on her and teenage haze. And what do you think? Do you think there's really a red herring?
Nice.
It's not a red herring. What the fuck was bird? Was it crane?
It's a crane, but that was
red
nice.
Herring. Nice.
Yeah. I think I think she's playing really hard on the traditions of like what, you know, not having a settled afterlife, the ghost festival and all that stuff. And so like that makes sense for that purposes, but I do think that like she is losing her shit. But that doesn't explain how the crane brought the box. Like, how did the crane bring this box of shit? It's that her dad mailed to China. Her dad mailed the box to China.
And they burned it.
And it showed back up on Lee's step.
It's just weird.
I don't know.
It's weird, and I didn't get it. And maybe she was hoping that we weren't going to get it because we weren't paying attention because the book was so long. That was her plan. I figured it out.
Brilliant.
I got you down now.
We're on to you.
Fan. I'm on you. You're fucking with us. I got it.
All right, so this is a spoiler. Were you surprised to learn that Fang was actually the ghost of Dory's sister, Jingling?
No. It makes a lot more sense than what I was guessing. But, like, the grandparents acting like they weren't talking to a ghost for a better part of a week is kind of
I'm not sure that they realized she was there. And that's like, I called it
goddamn mind.
I called it from jump that was the dead sister. But, no, her grandmother, when she asked her Fang, her grandma was like, I don't know who you're talking about. Like, that there's not anybody that's been here.
But what about the phone?
That's the only part that I can't explain. But also, what about the motherfucking incense? Like, I don't know.
The guy's house and like it.
Well, they said that the phone was delivered in the mail. They thought her dad brought it.
There's just too many loose ends.
Yeah, it's very confusing,
and it's not making sense.
All right, so yeah, I don't know. It was just weird. Like, they had excuses for it, but I think she was like, I don't know. I think she might have been lost in her own story.
Maybe she's schizophrenic. Maybe she.
You mean like Emily X.R. Pan, or you mean Lee?
Lee, like, I think that.
I mean, it's possible. Mental health issues in her family.
Maybe she's schizophrenic, and that's why Dad is pushing on her going to the therapist, and her dad is like on her to take her meds and drink her water and eat right, and where are you going, and why can't we find you, and special camp. Maybe the special camp she couldn't take her friends to because it was for kids like her.
I don't think so. I don't think she had schizophrenia.
Dead mom camp? You know, they do like dead parent camp where it's just camp for kids that are.
That's from Turtles All the Way Down.
Dead parent camp.
He sent her. He sent her to camp because her mom was going to go through treatment, which actually brings me to something that I just wrote a note about at the beginning of the episode that I wanted to tell you.
Okay.
Before I ask my last question. So her mom, while Lee is at camp that she doesn't want to go to, at like the summer camp, she undergoes electroshock therapy. Have you read Wishful Drinking by Carrie Fisher?
No.
So Carrie Fisher, if you don't know who Carrie Fisher is,
where the fuck have you been?
I don't know what to fucking tell you.
She wrote Coyote Ugly.
That's motherfucking Princess Leia. General Leia Organa. So yeah. You need to know who she is.
Get your life together, man.
Right.
Also, she wrote Coyote Ugly.
She did?
Yeah.
The movie?
She's one of the screenwriters.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yes, but there's a whole list of movies I learned about her writing the other day, which is actually kind of interesting. Moving on.
Well, she has written several memoirs, and her first one is Wishful Drinking. Carrie Fisher actually went through electroshock therapy on 3 different occasions. Electroshock therapy, for those of you who do not know what it is, I'll link some sort of like, it might be Wikipedia, but hopefully it's a scholarly article.
Whatever.
Link below in the doobly-doos, as they say on Blog Brothers. So basically, it's like a shock, an electric shock, and it can completely like wipe huge chunks of your memory because it's electrocution. But it used to be a treatment that was more regularly used, and probably in cases that like it wasn't necessary, but they do still occasionally use it today, in like really severe cases. And Carrie Fisher in Wishful Drinking, she talks about how that was absolutely the right choice for her. She lost chunks of her life because of it, but like she struggled with mental health issues. Right. She struggled with mental health issues and addiction her entire life. And so,
I have a friend that had it.
That had electric shock therapy? Wow.
She's our age.
Wow.
Changed her life.
Wow.
changed her life.
Did she feel like she lost like chunks of her life from doing that, like
She
memory
doesn't really
wise?
talk about that part.
Mm-hmm.
She talks about the victory she got after.
Well, there you go.
So it was, I mean, she's still on meds because her depression is very severe.
Mm-hmm.
And she has a life and a family and all the things, but like,
right,
the electroshock therapy got her back to 0000, you know, like.
Well, and that's what they talk about in this book, and that's what Carrie Fisher talked about too. Like in this book, they talk about how there's such a stigma around, well, mental health issues in general. There's a stigma around it. But electroshock therapy, because people have these images of what they've seen in like movies where you're,
right. Makes you think of like the electric chair.
Right. And like, it's not like that. So anyway, so I'll put some information below. I'll have to do some research on it, but I'll put some information below because I thought that was really interesting that they brought that up. And that's one of the things I will say about this book that I really liked. I liked learning about the traditions that I didn't know, and I liked the awareness to mental health. And the back of the book also has
there's like
information.
An author's note?
Yeah, there is. There's information in here about how, in the author's note, she talks about how there's actually one of every 62 Americans is a suicide loss survivor, which is crazy to me. I have
three I can think of come to mind that I would consider somebody I loved.
That's crazy. I'm so sorry.
It's real life though.
Right. This author's note talks about how our word, I'm just going to quote this part. Lastly, our words hold so much power. Mental health professionals have been advocating for us to change our phrasing from committed suicide to died by or from suicide in order to reduce the blame and stigma. So I thought that, like, to me, like, that's the part of this book that I enjoyed. But I feel like she got lost in the MFA language.
Yeah. I'm wondering who was editing this, who was behind her with the red pen going, you can do more. You can dig deeper.
Right.
Find it.
Her professor, professor, doctor, whatever the fuck.
Her mentor. Mm-hmm. That's what they call them in those programs.
Right. All right. So last question. Did you find the resolution of this book believable?
No. Like, she went back and she was with the boy and she magically got into Germany and everything just magically fell back into place when she went back home.
Wonderful. Sunshine's and
her
rainbows.
life is just fine after her mother died. She doesn't need anything. It just, it's a hard push. Like, I get you want to give the character a happy ending, but that's not life post-suicide. That's not life.
That's not the book she built.
No. You need to write in there how hard it was. You need to write in there the struggles she had the next 4 years in school. How she regressed. How she herself suffered with depression. Tell the story, the true story, about how we all live with this struggle at the end of the day. That death doesn't just evaporate. It stays with you the rest of your life.
Right. And if you want to give her the ending of her getting into the art show, it just happened so soon after getting back. It was like not even a year that her mom had been
boom. Passed. It literally is like, ooh, don't even unpack your bag, kid. You're going to Berlin. It's the first thing of mail she unlocked. Please.
Yeah, it was
rough.
too much. Yeah.
Too much.
And for me, like, I felt like it was really a forced happy ending, like we just said. And I think like the author spent too much time like painting this image of grief and like processing grief, and then she just threw it away with like, I get to kiss the boy now. Like, that's not how grief works, you know?
It was a throwaway.
And we've talked about this before we've talked about this before on this pod, like how we still grieve our grandmothers. And my grandma died in 2010. Like, we are wrapping on the 12th anniversary of her death. And I'm still like, when it's her anniversary of her death, like, I'm devastated. You know what I mean?
I feel it.
That's how grief
the
works.
Beginning of the year, every year, I feel that loss.
Yep. It's the end of the year for me. But hey, so one thing I did like about this book that made me think, oh my gosh, I'm going to like this book, because this freaking quote happens right at the beginning. It's the very first chapter. It's one of the first pages. But I guess the universe has a way of knocking supposed to's right on their asses. That line
is a great line.
That line is a great
There's
line.
A couple of them in there. But you gotta dig through the weeds to find the one good line.
Right.
I don't want to dig through the weeds in a book like this.
No,
I want them to hit me in the face. I want it, especially with John Green's stamp of approval. John, I'm disappointed in you, friend. I'm fucking disappointed, homie.
I'm going to step off screen for just 1 second because I want to show you something.
Okay, you show me something.
This is John Green's book that deals with grief and mental health. Turtles All the Way Down. We covered that just a few weeks ago. This is Emily X.R. Pan's book about grief and loss. Look at the comparison between the lengths of the two of them.
It's fucking ridiculous.
When you know how to tell a story and you know how to tell it right, it's literally half the length. It's literally half the length.
Word.
She needed to be reined in.
And her mentor did not do that.
Did not.
Lean into the colors. It's beautiful.
All right. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No. Next week?
Do you want to know my Goodreads rating?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Okay, well, I forgot what it was, so give me a second.
A 2, I'm guessing.
I think I gave it a 3, but let me double check. Molly, I've read 48 books this year. I know.
I'm not keeping track. I probably should.
People have started following me on Goodreads. It's been exciting. I rated it 3 out of 5, but again, Goodreads doesn't let me do halves. So it's actually a 2.5 out of 5.
Okay, thank you.
And I include, whenever you follow me on Goodreads, you'll see that I put true rating because Goodreads really needs to give halves. I need to be able to half rate this.
We need to start a petition.
I can't believe I'm the only. I can't imagine that I'm the only person that's I need a half rating here. So anyway,
we need to start a petition. We'll put it on the website.
All right. So what are we doing next week, Molly?
Karen Slaughter's Triptych.
Yep.
It's the first book in the Will Trent series.
Yep. First book of the Will Trent series, and that is the last book for September. And last week, if you missed it, we posted a carousel that has all of our October books, which includes a special guest. We are hosting Kendra Thomas, author of the Granted series. That episode premieres on October 4th. And I
can't believe we're going to September already.
I know, man, this year has flown by. I know, flown by. But Kendra's book, she is an independent author. You can buy her books on Amazon. I'm not sure of other vendors, but I'll link to some of her stuff below. If you want to read with us, that one's not going to be readily available in stores, so you're going to need to get it elsewhere. I got the Kindle editions, and I know the first and second book are available as audiobooks. So if you're an audiobook listener like Molly and I are, that is available through Audible, #not sponsored.
#not sponsored.
And the fourth book in the series comes out in November. So that's what she's going to be talking to us about. We are reading the first book. We're going to let her talk to us more about the series as a whole and what we can expect from the fourth book.
Yay!
And of other October books, check out our social media, check out our website, and we'll post them there as well.
That's it. I ain't got nothing.
I don't have anything else either. So that's it. Bye. Thank you for joining us on Book Besties. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Today's book was The Astonishing Color of After by Emily X.R. Pan. Your Book Besties are Molly Biggs and April Watkins. Editing by Thomas Watkins. And music is Sleep Sweetly by Pritchida. Don't forget to follow Book Besties on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. If you'd like to contact the Book Besties, please email us at bookbestiespod@gmail.com or visit our website, bookbestiespodcast.com.